So your basic hip shimmy comes from your little hip snaps. And by your little hip snaps, I mean this move where one hip is going down and the other hip is going up. And you're trying to keep these as vertical as possible. So there's not a lot of side to side. It really is as much as you can, one up, one down. And what's actually happening in the legs is that you're bending one knee then the other. So one knee is bending. You can see a bit more clearly the trousers. So you're bending one knee and that's what drops the hip. And then you bend the other knee and that drops it. It actually feels a little bit like walking in a very odd sort of way. One knee bends, other knee bends. One knee bends, the other knee bends. My other top tip for this, and this is the bit that doesn't feel like walking, is not to shift your weight. This is what happens if you shift your weight. Weight goes one way, weight goes the other way. And it moves your head, and it creates it all side to side. I like to dance these with the weight absolutely 50% in one foot and the other, and I'm not shifting my weight. I'm moving the knees, but the weight doesn't shift. And your head and your nose has to follow where your weight goes. If I shift my weight into my right leg, my head has to go there. So if you keep your weight absolutely balanced, it will make it much easier to keep your head completely still, and for this to look like a really isolated movement in the hips. And so these are your little hip snaps. And in order to turn that into a shimmy, it is the same movement for your basic hip shimmy. It just gets faster, obviously, and as always, if it gets faster, it has to get smaller. So you're starting with potentially quite a big hip movement, and it's going to have to get a little bit smaller and subtler, but still staying in that nice vertical sense where you can see the hips moving, and all that happens is it starts to speed up. And you should still get quite a big hip shimmy using this technique, but obviously a little bit smaller than your snaps. And you want to find a speed that's sustainable for you. Hip shimmies should be in time with the music, so it's not just a case of go crazy and shimmy as fast as you can, because that's not in time with the music. So you might find that you actually want to shimmy a little bit slower than you can, so that you do have a quicker speed if you needed it. Other little tips on your shimmies. A lot of the very classical Egyptian shimmies are danced very small with a little side to side of your belly button. They vanish in the distance. So for your basic shimmy, I suggest you go with more of a hip shimmy than a leg shimmy. It keeps it nice and big. And the other thing that will help keep it nice and big is keeping your weight a little bit back towards your heels. Not drastically, but a little bit back towards your heels. And a slightly softened knee. And these are both things that will kind of sit you back and really let you drive off the feet on the floor to find this lovely, really, really big shimmy that you can see a long way away. But even with this being really, really big, the hips are moving, the knees are moving, the upper body is still relatively still. There's a little bit of bounce and reverb, but there's not an awful lot going on elsewhere. And so that is your hip shimmy, your basic hip shimmy.